Hello horror fans, this is American Horror News, and today we will be discussing as to why double feature sucked. So we all know 2021's double feature. The 10th season of American Horror Story, and was promised to be 2 seasons in one, and a promised connection that really never got. The only connection I could see is a military conspiracy, but that's about it. So, what happened? What was going on? So, I'm going to explain the full timeline of events, as it were, that led to this season and led to its ultimate suckage. So, back in early 2020, pre-pandemic, Ryan Murphy released the official American Horror Story Season 10 cast teaser, which featured a coastal beach, Orville Peck's Dead of Night, and a list of names, including Kathy Bates. But of course, a year later, she would drop out of double feature due to health concerns and replaced with Frances Conroy. But it was, and I was always wondering, why a double feature? What were they thinking? Also, why was the 6th episode of American Horror Story, Red Tide, taking place in Los Angeles? And why the script felt so rushed. Like, literally, if you notice, everything after episode 5 of Double Feature felt so rushed and last minute and ridiculous. And I finally got my answer when I visited Provincetown myself in the summer of last year. That was the same day I started to feel COVID symptoms, but I did talk to a lot of people. And those people told me something interesting. They had a limited time to film in Provincetown due to pandemic procedures. So what this tells me is that they had to improvise with the other half of the season. They had to rewrite an entire script to not only try and make up for the fact that they only had such little time to film in Provincetown, but also to basically come up with a second season in a double feature in such short amount of time. And as a result, we got the heavily rushed, heavily last-minute Death Valley. But there's another reason besides pandemic procedures. There's also the fact that I recently learned that a cast member actually died on set, a truck driver. He contracted COVID on the set of Red Tide and apparently died later. And another big thing that was happening was the fact that Provincetown is a tourist destination and they only had so long to film double feature there. Especially since once the winter time was over and spring rolled around, there would be a mass influx of people, stuff like that. And I honestly understand what Brian was trying to do, but I'm just going to be honest. I honestly think that there was a script out there prior to the pandemic that Ryan had prepared, but he tossed it out when the pandemic hit and had to rewrite everything to adapt to Provincetown's schedule. And as a result, we got double feature. I actually want to see the original script for Red Tide because I heard from a cast member that there weren't always going to be vampires in Red Tide, but rather human shark people, which I honestly would have been more interested in, to be honest with you. I actually theorized that when I first saw the behind-the-scenes photos of Double Feature, I saw these shark people, and I theorized that these shark people were being created by aliens or by the U.S. government to adapt to water, or perhaps they're even human beings who have evolved in the water. I don't know. But instead, we got Hotel the sequel. The worst part is, I actually liked Red Tide. The first 5 episodes of Red Tide were quality, and then somehow we got the last 5 episodes of Double Feature. And it... Honestly... This is why I consider Red Tide and Death Valley to be 2 separate seasons. Because there's literally no connection between them. Like, I remember when we were promised in the teasers and by Leslie Grossman that there was a connection. And there was none. Like, where? Where was the connection? Where? How does vampire pills made by a former military bioengineer connect to aliens getting people pregnant? I mean, the only thing they have in common is a government-military conspiracy and experimentation, but that's about it. There's really nothing in common. Unless you link the pills to the aliens, Here's the thing, Ryan. You should have just went with the shark people. I don't know. Maybe you could have negotiated further, or perhaps I don't know. Perhaps had found another coastal town. I mean, there's plenty in Massachusetts. But yeah, this has been American Horror News, and I hope this gave you all some much needed clarity as to why Double Feature was so terrible. Luckily, Ryan redeemed himself next year with Stories 2 and NYC, but 2021 was a bad year for the show. Let's all agree on that. It was all hype and no substance. But yeah, this has been American Horror News, signing out. I hope you all had a good day.